So completely out of the blue, at least to people like me who don't really follow movie and series news as much as I follow video game news anyway, and also to someone who until recently didn't cave to the mouse and thus only recently even subscribed to Disney Plus. Um, a new a new Santa the Santa Claus movie, not movie but a series, um, a series that acts as a sequel and kinda sorta fourth movie to the old the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen, released over November and bridging into to December of last year. And again, I I I'm rarely on Disney Plus for a variety of reasons. I have so much other stuff to check out on Netflix and all the games that I never play. But so I logged on and this banner flashed by and I was like, "Are you serious?" So naturally I had to check it out because I mean I loved the original or love the original movies. The first one is a classic. Second one, although it kinda worries you when a sequel releases so long after the original. It was, I mean, the whole a mechanical Santa replacement plot was kinda stupid in my opinion, but I liked the whole Santa has to go and find a wife, and everyone remembers the scene where he gives the adults presents so that they get their Christmas spirits back, and they're like, oh my god, I remember playing with this. And the third one is I mean, all of the movies have good messages, but plot wise, overall, the third one is kind of just bad, in my opinion, at least. Um, the whole um, Jack Frost tricks Santa into giving up his Santaship plot kicks in pretty late into the movie, and it gets resolved almost just as fast. It feels like not that it not to talk too much about that, but it feels like the actual problem of the movie, the actual plot kicks in the third act and is resolved in the third act. But regardless of that, great movies. The original trilogy, I have them here in Danish, where they are called Tror du på julemanden, which means Do you believe in Santa? And Tror du stadig på julemanden, which means Do you still believe in Santa? We get kind of creative sometimes, and I mean sometimes, because with the third one, Tror du på julemanden 3, we just went straight up Do you believe in Santa 3. I really love how we Danes rename movies sometimes, because it kind of makes them unique to us in a way. I could come with a lot of other examples, but not right now. But so I was very curious to sit down and watch this series, which where I mean again, it's about Santa losing his powers. Or I say again, but that part actually intrigued me, because I don't think that has been done in the other movies before. I mean, the first one was about Scott Calvin becoming Santa. Second was about him finding a wife, and third one, again, like I said, was about him being tricked into giving up his position. So him losing his powers, because this movie takes place in comparison to the other movies. I say far in the future, but like 30 years or something. Like the little girl that put soy milk out for Santa in one of the previous movies. She has all grown up now. Um, Santa has gotten kids. The daughter of which I call me slow, but I only found out that Santa's daughter in the movie is actually Tim Allen's real life daughter. Way after, not way after the fact, but after, because I like to research movies after I watch them to know, kind of behind the scenes and stuff. And it was only then that I was like, really? And sure, now I can see it, the face, and she does look like him, but I didn't think about it when I was watching it. But it's funny because before I watched the series, I had just had a conversation with my mom about, oh, I wish that in movies where they portray a family that they would use an actual family a little bit more often than they actually do. And then I watched this series, and surprise, surprise, the daughter is real. I was about to say, but so the whole Santa is losing his powers. Okay, fair enough. He's losing his powers because um, uh, I guess people are stopping to believe, and but the bullshit, in my opinion, already commenced when he's in denial about it, and when he gets back home, he all of the surveillance elves, or what you call it, the elves in the control room, who are constantly monitoring Santa's travels to make sure that he's okay and stuff like that, and of course Mrs. Claus herself and the kids, they are like, oh my god, what happened, we heard that, and he's like, oh, it's fine, it's nothing. And that's a cliche. If I ever saw one, a problem arises, the main character is in complete denial. Where, I mean, if he was really serious about this, about the Santa business, he would act right then and there. Like, okay, sure, he's not proud that his magic is failing, but at the same time, it's not his fault. So why not just come clean and be like, guys, we have a serious issue on our hands. Let's get to work. Because, and I'm gonna spoil every now and then, just so you are warned. What I've already told you is, it happens in the first 5 minutes of the series, so nothing spoiled yet. Unless you would call a trailer a spoiler. But at the very end, because he's starting to lose his powers. He's like, maybe it's me who is the problem. I'm getting too old, and I don't have time for my family, which was also one of the issues in the third movie, which was what ultimately made Jack able to trick Santa, because Santa got, or Tim Allen, whatever you want to call him, he was frustrated that he didn't have time for his family, and a lot of stuff that just piled up until the moment where he was like, oh, I wish I wasn't Santa. So the whole maybe I should just retire thing is kind of used at this point. But that's what happens. Starting to lose his powers. Maybe I'm the problem. He thinks I'm getting too old, and I don't have time for my family. So and if I retire, then I'm gonna have more time for my family. Which kind of backfires later, because when they get their new lives, everyone but him gets a new life. Like the son and daughter who started off socially awkward because they have never been around other people. They get friends, and the mom gets a new job, and Scott is kind of just at home Netflix and chilling. um, Almost kind of sort of regretting his choice. But of course they all, after elves start disappearing because of of the loss of faith, and because the new guy that Santa has hired, while good at heart, makes some changes to the North Pole, making it Christmas every day, which kind of reminds me of Elmo Saves Christmas. Now that I think about it, God, I really miss that film. The Danish version, by the way. I know that the English one is readily available on DVD, but I remember watching the Danish version as a kid, and that one is nowhere to be found unless I can find someone who has it recorded on VHS. That's the problem with growing up a Danish kid. Unless it's Disney or something like that, you almost can't find anything on commercially released media. But that was a sidetrack. Christmas every day, and it of course that doesn't work. Christmas spirit is lower than ever. Shit is worse than ever, and Scott, when Scott hears this, after a little persuasion from the elf whose name I forget now, the guy with the funny hat who was in the first and second movie. I know it's a heresy that I've forgotten his name, but I'm kind of just shooting these videos and speaking off the top of my head. He returns for a brief time, like, Santa, get your shit together, and then shows him this whole Santa verse where Santas from all kinds of different time periods, they group together to convince Scott that, man, you have to get your ass back, because everything we have done, even to the point of the old Santa Claus falling from the roof, all of that was planned in order to make you the first human Santa. So after that the whole plot dump, and now that we know the meaning of the title, the Santa Clauses, or in Danish, Tror du på julemændene, which again, it's the same title just in Danish. Or no, forget what I said. Do you believe in the Santa Clauses would be the translated title. But and so he of course gets back to the North Pole and dethrone his replacement, and Simon, he is called, and his little girl who was kind of sort of getting onto that his dad, while having good intentions, maybe was the bad guy. And Santa is like, sweetheart, your dad isn't a bad guy. Us parents, we just sometimes get out on a bit of a sidetrack, and that's I loved that the bad guy in this series wasn't treated like a bad guy, but more like a person just just out of his way, a person with good intentions, but where the good intentions just carried a lot of bad stuff with it because it wasn't optimal. And on that note, I wish that more movies did that. Instead of just having a bad guy like, you are a bad guy and just a bad guy. There is nothing redeemable about you, but like, you're not a bad guy. You're just misunderstood. Okay, that sounds cliche when I say it like that, but you get what I mean. A film or a series with a bad guy who is just on a bit of a sidetrack. I miss more stuff like that. But anyway, and so Santa gets back in his suit, and he realizes that with the help of his family, where he then starts delivering presents again. He realizes that he retired too early. No shit, and says that when I found out that that there was a problem, the whole losing faith stuff, instead of retiring and running away from the problem, I should have done something instead. And I'm like, because again, the whole retiring and I don't want to be Santa Claus anymore, we have kind of already been there, but imagine a series. Um, Imagine a series all about Santa trying to do something about the whole faith problem. I would have watched that. But as to what we got, I mean, it's not a bad show. I mean, compared to the Santa Claus 3, which I just told that okay, a bad movie. It's a guilty pleasure to some. It ain't an awful movie, but 1 and 2 are better. Let's just say it like that. And as a series, I won't say that the Santa Clauses is it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if I will say it's even good, but I think it's decent. It's passable. It's not like after the 6 episodes and a second season has been greenlit. I've heard. It's not like I felt I had wasted my time because it did have some generally good and heartwarming moments. I especially liked every scene where that the elf who is in charge again, forget her name. I'm sorry, which is heresy because she was my favorite character. That head honcho elf who is Sansa's advisor, who mostly shows herself from a very stern and strict position, but also shows sometimes that she does have a soft spot, especially towards her husband, with whom she has a very. I mean, you look at these two polar opposite personalities and are like, those two would never get together. But that's what I that's what I thought was so charming about their relationship. That sometimes opposites do attract, and while looks very she appears very very hot on the outside, she does in fact have a heart. Eh? Um, no, but it has some genuinely good moments and some good characters and good ideas. But and I apologize if I can't really think of many examples because I mean, what do you want? It's already been a bit over a week since I watched it, um, but it felt like some of the ideas weren't really fleshed out enough. Like um, and it also felt like and I've when when thinking about the movie for myself afterwards, like what could they have done better? What did I like? What did I not like? To me, it feels rushed on a lot of accounts. Many things feels brushed over or just otherwise completely forgotten about. Um, like it feels in many ways like a miniseries that thinks it is a 2 hour movie. Like, oh wait, we have to do this quickly and quick onto the next scene, onto the next scene. What about this plot? What about this plot point? We don't have time. We don't have time. Come on, move on. Um, for example, and I hate when this happens because um, a wise person once said that in a movie, anything that doesn't need to be there shouldn't be there. Every single thing, every idea, every concept that you introduce in a movie or series should have a purpose. I mean, Easter eggs are fine and all that, but for example, when Simon is and his daughter they are taken to the North Pole, kidnapped. Um, he wants to take a picture of his daughter in Santa Land, and Mrs. Claus then quickly goes like, "Sorry guys, photography is strictly prohibited here," and he's like, "Oh, sorry." Um, but then he does it anyway when she looks away, and then he does it again in Santa's office, where Santa then catches him in the act, turns around and are like, "Haven't you been told that that photography is not allowed?" Yeah. And then they do nothing with it. Nothing. That plot point is never brought up again, and I'm like, then why have it there? Then why have it there? Because obviously it's a rule or a part of the law that if you go to Santa's place, then when you come back, you won't remember a thing. And I thought it would have been brilliant if, at the end of the final episode, when everything is back to normal, and Simon and his daughter, they wake up back in their own bedroom, and the father of presumably has no memory, and the girl also. But then imagine if the girl looked at her father's phone for whatever reason, and then saw these pictures and was like, it wasn't a dream. That would have been brilliant. But again, many and I really should have written a list, because after I watched the series, I had all of these unsolved plot points in my head that I really wanted to talk about, and was like, oh, why didn't they follow up on this? Why didn't they explore this idea more? And now I can't remember. Now I can't remember half of it. But I felt there were a lot of plot holes, and a lot of missed potential, a lot of missed ideas. Like, all right, throughout the series, and or rather before Santa hires this new Santa Claus, this new guy Simon, he first tries to pass to pitch the job to his first son, who is now grown up, who appreciates the offer, and oh, it's so great to see you again, Dad, but ultimately has to decline, because, like he says, the North Pole is the good place to raise kids. Something Santa actually already knows regarding his own kids, because they are isolated from everything. Have never met kids their own age. And then he tries to pitch the idea to his new son, the son who lives with him and his daughter on the North Pole. And in the beginning of the series, the son is like, he only wants to be inside his virtual world, and wants nothing to do with the whole Santa business. But then, as the series progresses, both him and his daughter, for that matter, they show more and more signs of having gotten a little bit of magical powers themselves, because they are born in the North Pole, and because they are the kids of goddamn Santa Claus. With the daughter being able to speak to animals, and the son being able to see these portals that Santa uses to get from place to place around the world, and also do the whole go down through the chimney, tap on your nose to get up through the chimney again, and okay, that could be what the second season is about, him actually becoming a Santa in training. But for these first 6 episodes, I felt that that kind of went nowhere. Also, one of the final scenes where Santa and family, they have to gather their stuff to go deliver these snow globes to give people their faith back. And the daughter's objective or task is to pep talk the reindeers to want to fly again, and we don't see that. It was just like, go do this. Next scene, they're flying. Like, show, don't tell. And for that matter, how the elves get back is also very rushed, very lame. Like the elves will come back if we all just believe. Oh, big group hug. Suddenly, all elves are back, by the power of a group hug. So yeah. A lot of points I would have talked about, but as it's typical me, I've already managed to talk for almost half an hour about stuff. But I still feel that I generally got my I mean, I may not have listed all of the specific plot points that I had in my head when the series was fresh in my head a week ago, but bottom line again is that it ain't a perfect show. It's decent. It has some cute moments, but also a lot of ideas and plot holes that are skipped over or aren't fleshed out enough. But generally, I mean, again, it's not like I felt that I had wasted 3 hours of my life after I had watched it all. And if you, I was sitting by my lonesome because no one in my family wants to watch what I like to watch. But if you gather with your family, maybe next Christmas or right now, if you feel like it, it's and if you aren't being as nitpicky and critical as I am, you're gonna have a perfectly good time. Ain't a masterpiece. I don't think it's gonna be a classic like the first or the second one, but it ain't as bad as the third one. And I mean, you can argue they didn't have to make it. We already had the trilogy, but and I don't know why Tim Allen wanted to get back in the suit if it was because he felt like a part of the story, a part of the Santa Claus lore had to be further explained, that there was some untapped potential in the franchise. I mean, he has said in interviews that he felt that there were some plot holes, like why when he arrived at the North Pole for the first time in the first movie, why didn't the elves show any signs of mourning over the old Santa Claus? Stuff like that he felt needed an explanation, which then also gets explained in this movie. Not gonna spoil that one. um, so so yeah, some missed potential here and there, and again I felt that a lot of that many aspects of the plot were reused, rehashed from previous films, where I again would have much more appreciated a film about Santa trying to get back in the game, trying to restore faith of the faith of the world, trying to restore Christmas spirit. That would have been a killer show. But for what it is, it's a perfectly good a perfectly good time with your family, and I guess only time will tell if the second season will be worth anything. So yeah, that was a little bit, half an hour of my random rambling thoughts. Hope you I hope you enjoyed listening to me. That you found any kind of valuable or insightful opinions, and I'll see you next time. See ya.